Hey everyone, it's Jay here, just doing my daily routine walk through the amazing area that I live. And that's what this video is about. I have decided to make something where I talk about why moving from the city, I originally grew up in Melbourne, and moving out to regional New South Wales has been an absolute dream, and why I recommend more people who are looking for what I would say is a traditional old school way of raising a family, as opposed to the city life, which is very different in my opinion to where we currently live. My backstory in regards to relocating from city to country is that, as I noted just before, I grew up in Melbourne. I was born in Melbourne. My parents are from the beautiful tropical island of Mauritius, so I am a first generation Australian. And I grew up in the outer southeastern suburbs of Melbourne, around the Dandenong area. So if you know Dandenong, you know what that's like. It's even changed a lot, even more since I grew up there. It was very much a, as they say, a melting pot of cultures back then. But even more now, I would say, through the recent mass immigration that Australia has really seen, it's even gotten more multicultural and probably less Anglo-based. That's just an observation. As I became an adult, I decided to move more into the inner city area, and I moved into an area called St Kilda, Elwood, around there. And that was a hustle, bustle, trendy area. You know, me and my wife at this time, we were still rather young and enjoying life and doing things like going to shows and gigs and eating out all the time. And that's something that you do when you're, I guess, a younger person. It's a great thing, great space to live if you have the means and the ability to enjoy the things that a big city brings. But once you hit a certain life stage, like me now, I've got a young family, 5 and 9-year-old children, it's really changed my perspective on life just in general. So I really wanted to give my kids a similar upbringing to the one that I had, which was very much community based. Like when I grew up in my area, you know, you ran around the streets, you knew all your neighbours, we were all friendly. Oh, speaking of country life. Yeah, so there was a sense of community, we were all friendly. All the kids used to just ride around on the streets. You'd only have one rule pretty much, as long as you're back home before the street lights come on, everything was good. And I had an absolutely amazing childhood in that sort of environment, and I'm very thankful for my parents who made the decision to come to Australia and set up their life here. My dad came here in the 60s, early 60s, lived his bachelor life here for 10 years, and then he went back to Mauritius and he met my mum, and she came back here to Australia and they started their life here. Started young. My mum was, I think, only 21 when she had my older brother, and a couple of years later she had me, and then probably 10 years later adopted my sister. But it's funny, we lived up in, as I said earlier, in an area which was, it was actually specifically called Doveton, which I say Dandenong because that's, most people know where Dandenong is, but it was a really poor socioeconomic area. But I had no idea until I was an adult. I lived in a lower class, if that's what you want to call it, area where lots of people who were looking for a start in life moved to. along with old school Aussies that were there as well. You know, I grew up with other Mauritians, Eastern European kids, Indian and Sri Lankans, Vietnamese, Chinese, all of them. We didn't really have many African kids growing up. I think that was more of a thing post-90s that came into it. But that was the consensus of other non-Australian backgrounds. So that's the environment that I grew up in, and then the adult life that I had. And probably about 10 or 11 years ago, I think it was, me and my wife went for a holiday up north to the Byron Bay region and accidentally landed in a town called Mullumbimby. And when we came here, we were like, wow, this place is so not like Byron Bay. We obviously knew Byron Bay as a holiday touristic area with amazing beaches and whatnot. But this town was like this little town, probably 15 minutes away from Byron Bay. Has a really cool alternative vibe. Lots of people are into, which you would probably call hippies. Not that I give a crap about that. Each to their own, as I say. But yeah, it's just this really cool community with a great city centre. I think there's about 5,000 people here. So in comparison to anywhere in the city, you know, that's like hardly anyone. And it's just really welcoming. Yes, you have a lot of Karening going on community boards on Facebook and stuff like that. But that goes to show how people are really engaged with the area and the community. And one thing I will say is I've never felt more welcome in my whole life since I've moved here. You know, the schools are amazing. They're all inclusive and wanting to get people involved with the schooling. But, you know, whenever you're walking down the streets, everyone's saying g'day, hello, waving. Whenever you need help with something, someone will always be like, hey, do you need a hand with that? We live in this amazing cul-de-sac when we bought here. It's full of kids, our kids, like I said, who are 5 and 9. After school, their afternoon routine is legitimately get home from school, get changed, and get back outside. And they're on their bikes, they're with their little mates who are also live on the street, and they enjoy life as I did. And I do remember being back in Melbourne, especially around the inner city area. You would never see kids on the road. Never. And whenever we go back to Melbourne now, I just feel this level of coldness. People don't say hello to you when you're walking down the street. Everyone's got their head down. Everyone's focused on just getting by. And there is ultimately a massive difference between city folk and country folk. And I see that a lot even now in my workplace, where I work for a rather large Australian company which comes out of Sydney, and my part of the business is based out of Coolangatta. Whilst not small, it's still technically a regional place. So the company has, I guess, Sydney administrative views, whereas a lot of the people who work there are very country-based people. So there is an interesting dichotomy there when it comes to certain things. Even in those instances, we can see city folk versus regional country folk. It's a very different world. But if you're someone who lives in the city, I guess the message I'm trying to bring by this video is, and you're thinking about a change of doing something different, oh, yes, it's hard to move. Yes, it's hard to leave your friends and family. But the upside attached to relocating your family to a more family country vibe place is well beyond the downsides. Yes, we don't get big sporting events, we don't get big music events, we don't have things happening all the time. But that's where you start figuring out yourself things to do. Like, thankfully my family are big into nature. We go on big walks and check out waterfalls and parks and beaches and lookouts and all those things. We do that all the time. It's actually our favourite pastime, is as a family getting out there and enjoying nature. And we've got so many amazing things to do around here. So we're blessed in that we have landed in a spot which ticks a lot of boxes for us. And just from perspective, if we ever need any big city things, we've got Gold Coast, which is, 40 minutes to an hour, depending on where you need to go in Gold Coast down the road. And for bigger events, we've got Brisbane, which is a 2-hour drive away. Yes, that's far as a drive, but is it worth the sacrifice? 100%. It is amazing living out here. I love the lifestyle we've built, and I love the community we've gotten into. I would say I would do it again in a heartbeat. It's only through a random holiday that we went to 10 or 11 years ago did we discover the place that we finally ended up settling in and moving to the country. Gonna eat a lot of peaches. I have not eaten a peach yet. What am I trying to get out of this is, don't ever feel like you're bounded to the place that you're located in. I think about going back to my parents' origin story. My dad came in to Australia from Mauritius, a tiny country, a tiny island. You didn't have the internet back then where you could do research. I don't even think they had brochures. It was legitimately just a word of mouth thing. I hear about this place, this magical land down under. And then on the back of getting that advice, they moved. In fact, he caught a ship to come to Australia. So he was, I used to joke with him, calling him a boat person. But no, he's not a boat person, he was a ship person. Came here on a ship. I think it took a couple of weeks to get here. Had no idea, had no family. He did come with a brother, I believe, to Australia. So that was the only family connection they had. Then lots of their family moved progressively to Australia. So we've got lots of family here. But I guess what I'm trying to get at is, if they can do it with that level of unknown, for me, it's actually a piece of cake. I knew everything that I was getting into. Yes, I was leaving family and friends. But again, with the beauty of modern technology, like flying, we get back to Melbourne, twice, 3 times a year. We just got back from Melbourne in December. We're going again at the end of January for my sister-in-law's birthday. With the cost of flights nowadays, actually all makes it quite manageable. So, if you ever had an inclination about moving interstate or moving to the country or whatever it is, I say go out there and do it. You might never know what you're missing out on until you actually try it. And me, a big city boy, if I can go out there and do it after living for 40 years in the city and then coming to the country, you can do it too. And that's all the message is for this video. If you're thinking about it, think about it more. If you've got any questions, leave a comment below. I hope you got something out of this, and I'll catch you around next time. Thanks for watching.